The accidental acquisition. Jace Riker's head throbbed with the aftereffects of synthetic whiskey as he shouldered his way through the crowded upper promenade of Nexus Station. The floating metropolis, a sprawling collection of interconnected habitation rings and commercial hubs, buzzed with activity that felt like needles behind his eyes. "You look terrible, Captain," commented the small holographic figure projecting from his wrist communicator. "Thanks for the update, Miko," Jace muttered, adjusting the worn tactical vest that concealed a compact pulse pistol. "Any word from our contact?" The hologram, a petite blue figure designed to resemble an ancient Earth geisha, complete with ornate digital kimono, flickered as it consulted data streams invisible to human eyes. Miko, multiform intelligence and kinetic operator, was the AI that ran Jace's ship, the Nova Drifter. Unlike standard ship AIs, Miko had a personality that vacillated between sardonic wisdom and childlike curiosity, a glitch Jace had never bothered to fix. Docking Bay 17C. "Though I'm detecting unusual security algorithms in that sector," Miko replied, her digital face creasing with concern. "Also, your heart rate suggests impending sobriety. How unfortunate for you." Jace ignored the jab as he consulted the station map projected onto his retina via his neural implant. Cargo Bay 17C was several levels down, in what station maps designated as the Gold Quarter, the exclusive domain of the station's wealthiest residents and visitors. Rival said this was a simple pickup. "Hyperfuel coils. In and out," Jace muttered. "What's it doing in the Gold Quarter? Perhaps he's finally paying you what you're worth?" Miko suggested, her voice dripping with artificial sarcasm. 20 minutes and 3 security checkpoints later, Jace found himself in a gleaming corridor that bore no resemblance to a cargo bay. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light across polished obsidian floors. Well-dressed figures from across the galaxy mingled, their attire and implants broadcasting wealth that made Jace's entire ship look like scrap metal. "This isn't a cargo bay," he whispered to Miko. "Astute observation, Captain. Shall I alert the Interstellar Academy of your deductive prowess?" The AI's holographic form made a show of slow clapping. A tall humanoid with silvery skin and multifaceted eyes approached Jace, scanning him with an implant that hummed softly. "Invitation, sir." Jace reached instinctively for his pulse pistol before catching himself. "I'm here for a pickup. Rival sent me." Docking Bay 17C. The doorkeeper's expression revealed nothing. "This is Auction Hall 17C, sir. The Equinox Collection's annual exclusive acquisition event." He paused, consulting his implant again. "However, we do have a Rival Thorn listed as a broker with acquisitional privileges. Are you representing him?" Jace's mind raced. Rival had sent him into an exclusive auction? For hyperfuel coils? Something was very wrong here, but turning around now would attract more attention than playing along. "That's right," he said with a confidence he didn't feel. "Representing Rival Thorn." The doorkeeper nodded and stepped aside. "Bidding starts in 5 minutes. Please refrain from touching any of the items without an attendant present." Inside, the auction hall resembled a museum more than a marketplace. Pedestals displayed artifacts protected by shimmering force fields, ancient weapons, artistic masterpieces, and technologies that defied ready classification. "Miko, what am I looking at here?" Jace whispered. "The Equinox Collection." Miko's voice came soft in his ear, her hologram now hidden to avoid attention. "Exclusive purveyors of rarities to the galactic elite. Recent sales include a moon, 3 extinct species revived through genetic archive, and the death mask of Emperor Zan 4. Why would Rival send me to? A soft chime interrupted his question as the assembled guests moved toward a central amphitheater. Floating seats arranged in concentric circles faced a circular stage. Jace found himself directed to a seat near the back. A Centaurian auctioneer, his four arms moving in hypnotic patterns that enhanced his telepathic projection, took the stage. Distinguished guests, we welcome you to the 307th Annual Acquisition Event. Our first offering requires little introduction. The stage illuminated, and a woman stepped forward, or more accurately, was pushed forward by unseen mechanisms. Jace's breath caught. Her skin was the deep azure of the rarest comet ice, covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and flow like liquid mathematics. Her hair, the color of starlight, cascaded over her shoulders in complex braids interwoven with what appeared to be living crystal. Most striking were her eyes, pupilless orbs that contained swirling galaxies of violet and silver. A quantum keeper of the celestial dynasty, the auctioneer announced with practiced reverence. The last daughter of House Thandarin, containing within her genetic memory the complete quantum archives of 17 star systems. Bidding begins at 5 million credits. The gathered audience erupted into a flurry of raised fingers, neural blinks, and subvocal commands as bids flew in. Jace sat frozen, unable to look away from the woman who stood with regal dignity despite the circumstances. Her alien eyes scanned the crowd, and for a fleeting moment, met his. An itch suddenly developed at the bridge of Jace's nose, a maddening tickle he tried to ignore. Finally, unable to bear it, he raised his hand to scratch just as the auctioneer called out, "Do I hear 20 million?" The hall fell silent, all eyes turning to Jace. 20 million from the gentleman in tactical wear, the auctioneer announced, his telepathic voice resonating with surprised delight. How refreshingly military chic. Going once. Jace's blood ran cold. No, I wasn't. Going twice. I was scratching my nose. Jace protested, half rising from his seat. Sold. To the nostril attendant in the back for 20 million credits. The audience applauded politely, though many cast envious or suspicious glances his way. Jace collapsed back into his seat, mind reeling. "Captain," Miko's voice came softly in his ear, "did you just purchase a sentient being for 20 million credits that you don't possess?" "It appears so," Jace replied weakly. "Fascinating. I always wondered what financial suicide would look like," the AI mused. "Apparently it involves nose hygiene." 30 minutes later, after signing documents he barely understood, Jace found himself escorted to a private receiving room. The Azure woman waited there, now dressed in a simple shift that did little to diminish her otherworldly beauty. Up close, Jace could see that the patterns beneath her skin pulsed in complex sequences, like living equations. "So," she said, her voice carrying the harmonic resonance of multiple tones layered together, "you are my new owner." Jace winced. "Look, this was all a massive misunderstanding. I was scratching my nose, not bidding." A smile played at the corner of her mouth. In some cultures, attending to personal discomfort during negotiations is considered the highest form of insult. "Great. I've offended everyone and spent money I don't have." He ran a hand through his disheveled brown hair. "I'm Jace. Jace Riker. I am Lyra Thandarin, 7th Keeper of the Quantum Archives, vessel of the Celestial Equation," she replied, then added with surprising lightness, "and apparently the property of a man who cannot control his facial impulses." Jace grimaced. "I don't want to own anyone. This is all wrong. Yet here we are." Lyra's alien eyes studied him with unsettling intensity. The real question, Jace Riker, is whether you understand what you've purchased. Enlighten me. My people are living data repositories. For millennia, we've preserved the quantum knowledge of civilizations, their science, their art, their mathematics, encoded in our very biology. She gestured to the flowing patterns beneath her skin. What you see are living equations, Captain. The collective wisdom of 17 star systems. Jace frowned. And someone like you ends up on an auction block, why? Lyra's expression darkened. Because the Obsidian Syndicate wants what I contain. Knowledge of weapons that could destabilize the balance of galactic power. They arranged this auction, expecting their agent to win. Instead they got a hungover mercenary with an itchy nose, Jace muttered. Perfect. A soft chime from his communicator interrupted them. Miko's voice came urgent in his ear, Captain, we have a situation. Multiple armed individuals approaching your location. Negative identification but energy signatures suggest military-grade weaponry. How many? 12. No, 14. They appear displeased. Time to go, Jace said, grabbing Lyra's arm. Unless you'd prefer to stay for your intended buyer? Lyra's alien eyes narrowed. Lead the way, Captain. They slipped through a service corridor, Jace's neural implant projecting the station schematic as Miko guided them through the least populated routes toward the docking bay where the Nova Drifter waited. 3 pursuing entities, closing rapidly, Miko updated as they rounded a corner. A pulse blast scorched the wall inches from Jace's head. He pushed Lyra behind a structural column and drew his pistol, returning fire without looking. Can your ship outrun them? Lyra asked, remarkably calm for someone being shot at. The Drifter? She's not pretty, but she's full of surprises. Jace risked a glance around the column. Like her captain. Is self-aggrandizement a trait of all humans, or just you? Special talent of mine, Jace replied, firing 3 more shots that sent their pursuers diving for cover. Miko, prep the ship for emergency departure. Already done, Captain, the AI replied. Though I should note that station security protocols will target any unauthorized launches with defense cannons. Then authorize us. With what code, precisely? Jace cursed under his breath. They were still 2 corridors away from the docking bay, with armed pursuers closing in and no clear exit strategy. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. I can help. Before he could respond, she pressed her palm to the station's interface panel. The flowing equations beneath her skin accelerated, patterns rushing toward her fingertips. The panel sparked, then all lights in the corridor flashed simultaneously. What did you do? Jace asked, amazed. Temporarily convinced the station's security system that we're a high-priority diplomatic vessel with emergency clearance, she replied, a hint of strain in her harmonic voice. It won't last long. They sprinted the remaining distance to the docking bay where the Nova Drifter waited, a modified long-range interceptor that had seen better decades but wore its patchwork repairs like battle scars. As they raced up the boarding ramp, the station's alarm system blared to life. Armed figures appeared at the far end of the bay, weapons raised. Miko, get us out of here. Jace shouted as the ramp sealed behind them. The ship's engines roared to life, the deck vibrating beneath their feet as Miko's holographic form appeared at full size in the cockpit, now resembling a blue-tinted woman in elaborate robes, her digital face alight with excitement. Welcome aboard, Quantum Keeper, the AI greeted Lyra as Jace threw himself into the pilot's seat. Your biological encryption patterns are fascinating. May I scan them later for my personal database? Miko. Not the time. Jace barked, hands flying over the controls. The Nova drifter lifted off, weapons fire pinging harmlessly off its shields. The ship rocketed out of the bay, narrowly missing a cargo hauler as it accelerated toward open space. Multiple pursuit vessels detected, Miko announced, her holographic form flickering as she directed power to engines. Calculating optimal escape vectors. Jace turned to Lyra, who had taken the co-pilot seat with surprising familiarity. I hope you're worth 20 million credits I don't have, because we've just made some very dangerous enemies. Lyra's alien eyes met his, galaxies swirling in their depths. Captain Riker, I'm about to make your nasal impulse the most expensive and important scratch in galactic history. As the Nova drifter accelerated toward the jump point, leaving Nexus Station behind, Jace couldn't help but feel he'd stumbled into something far larger than a simple cargo pickup, something that would change the course of his life forever. The stars stretched into brilliant lines as they made the jump to hyperspace, fleeing into the unknown with the Obsidian Syndicate in hot pursuit and 20 million credits of living quantum knowledge sitting in his co-pilot seat. The Celestial Gambit. The Nova drifter emerged from hyperspace in a flash of incandescent light, the craft shuddering as Miko expertly navigated the gravitational eddy surrounding Helios 9. The rogue planet, perpetually bathed in the crimson glow of twin pulsars, hung before them, its surface a maze of canyons and crystalline formations that caught and fractured the distant starlight. Welcome to paradise, Jace announced dryly, gesturing toward the viewport. Or the closest thing to it when you're running from people who want to dissect your passenger. In the co-pilot's seat, Lyra studied the approaching planet with evident curiosity. During their 3-day journey, she had maintained a regal composure that Jace found both impressive and unsettling. The quantum equations beneath her azure skin had continued their endless dance, occasionally flaring when she accessed specific memories or data. An interesting choice of sanctuary, she observed, her harmonic voice layering multiple tones into a haunting melody. Helios 9 is banned territory under the Galactic Covenant. Precisely why no one will look for us here. Jace engaged the landing sequence, his hands moving with practiced efficiency across the control panel. No jurisdiction, no extradition, no questions. Just don't drink the water or make eye contact with anyone missing more than 3 limbs. Miko's holographic form materialized between them, her digital kimono shifting with simulated physics. Captain, I've analyzed the Obsidian Syndicate pursuit patterns. They've deployed scout ships to 17 systems, including 3 that shouldn't be in their navigational database. They're more resourceful than I anticipated, Lyra murmured, a flicker of concern crossing her features. They want you badly, Jace replied, guiding the ship toward a concealed landing pad nestled in a crystalline canyon. Which brings me back to my original question, what exactly do you contain that's worth tearing apart half the galaxy? Lyra's alien eyes, those swirling galaxies of violet and silver, met his with unflinching intensity. The convergence equations. Which are mathematical formulations that can manipulate quantum reality at its foundation, she explained, the patterns beneath her skin accelerating. My ancestors discovered that consciousness itself is encoded mathematically in the fabric of space-time. The convergence equations allow that encoding to be rewritten. Jace blinked. In basic, please. She can potentially alter reality with mathematics, Miko interjected, her digital eyes wide with fascination. Fascinating and terrifying. Approximately 97.3% terrifying. The Obsidian Syndicate wants to weaponize this ability, Lyra continued. Imagine rewiring the quantum signature of an entire star system, changing its very nature, controlling its population's thoughts, even altering physical laws within its boundaries. The Nova Drifter settled onto the landing pad with a gentle thud. Jace killed the engines but remained seated, processing Lyra's revelation. "So I accidentally purchased the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy," he said finally. "By scratching my nose." "Your proboscis has altered the course of galactic history," Miko agreed cheerfully. "Perhaps it deserves its own memorial statue." The outpost known as Scar's Edge clung to the canyon walls of Helios 9 like a mechanical parasite. Constructed from salvaged starship hulls and mining platforms, it housed the galaxy's most notorious fugitives, mercenaries, and outlaws. The establishment where Jace led Lyra, a cantina called the Broken Orbit, occupied what had once been the command deck of an Imperial dreadnought. "Keep your head down and stay close," Jace instructed, adjusting the settings on his pulse pistol. He'd given Lyra a hooded cloak that concealed her distinctive appearance, though nothing could completely hide the faint luminescence of the equations flowing beneath her skin. Inside, the cantina pulsed with a chaotic energy. Species from across the known galaxy engaged in various forms of commerce, conflict resolution, and chemically assisted relaxation. A three-armed bartender mixed drinks with practiced efficiency while a security drone hovered overhead, its weapons trained on the patrons. They found a secluded booth in the back. Jace ordered 2 Novastrike cocktails from a passing service bot, then activated a small privacy field generator to scramble any listening devices. "My contact should be here soon," he explained, eyes constantly scanning the crowd. "If anyone can get us information on the Syndicate's movements, it's Vex." Lyra adjusted her hood. "You seem remarkably well connected for a simple cargo runner." Before Jace could respond, the cantina's ambient noise shifted subtly. Conversations halted, then resumed at lower volumes as a group entered, 5 figures in matching charcoal combat suits, their faces obscured by reflective visors. "Syndicate hunters," Jace whispered, his hand moving to his weapon. "How did they find us so quickly?" "Because someone sold you out, old friend," came a gravelly voice from behind them. Jace turned to find a Sylvan standing there, humanoid but distinctly alien with bark-like skin and eyes like polished amber. Vex Thornwood had been Jace's information broker for years, but the smirk on his wooden features suggested their relationship had just undergone a significant change. "Nothing personal," Vex continued, sliding into the booth beside them. "But the Syndicate's offering 10 million credits for information on your whereabouts, and another 30 for the Quantum Keeper." He glanced appreciatively at Lyra. "Though I must say, the hollow images don't do her justice." Jace kept his voice steady despite the betrayal burning in his chest. "You realize they'll kill you once they have what they want?" "Perhaps." Vex shrugged, his bark skin creating a soft rustling sound. "Or perhaps I've negotiated better terms. The Syndicate's growing tired of merely controlling the black market. They're moving into governance now, reshaping entire sectors to their vision. With the convergence equations, they could do far worse," Lyra said quietly. The Sylvan's amber eyes widened slightly. "So the rumors are true. You really do contain them." He leaned forward, dropping his voice. "Do you have any idea what that knowledge is worth? What it could accomplish in the right hands?" "Or the wrong ones," Jace countered. A commotion erupted at the cantina's entrance. The Syndicate hunters had begun methodically scanning patrons, their wrist-mounted devices emitting soft pulses of energy. "Quantum resonance detectors," Lyra whispered, alarm flashing across her features. "They can trace the mathematical patterns in my biology." Jace quickly assessed their options. The cantina's back exit was now blocked by 2 more hunters. The privacy field would hide their conversation but couldn't mask Lyra's unique quantum signature. Vex noticed Jace's calculations and smiled. No escape this time, Riker. Though I am curious, what's your interest in all this? 20 million credits of debt for a woman you don't know? That's not the pragmatic mercenary I remember. Maybe I'm tired of pragmatic, Jace replied, his mind racing for a solution. Maybe I want to be on the right side of history for once. The Sylvan laughed, a sound like rustling leaves. There's no right side in this game, only the winning side. Without warning, the lights throughout the cantina flickered, then died completely. Emergency illumination kicked in, bathing everything in a blood-red glow. The security drone above crashed to the floor, its systems fried. Station-wide power fluctuation, came Miko's voice through Jace's earpiece. Of mysterious origin. How convenient for your escape. Taking advantage of the confusion, Jace grabbed Lyra's arm and pulled her from the booth. They weaved through the panicking crowd toward a maintenance hatch he'd noticed earlier. Behind them, Vex shouted orders to the Syndicate hunters, but his voice was lost in the chaos. Jace yanked open the hatch, revealing a narrow service tunnel that burrowed deeper into the outpost's infrastructure. After you, he gestured to Lyra. You have a plan, I presume, she asked, ducking into the tunnel. Working on it, Jace replied, following her and securing the hatch behind them. Miko, I don't suppose that power outage was your doing? Sadly no, Captain, the AI responded. Though I detect multiple new vessels entering orbit. 7 of them, bearing quantum signatures similar to our companions. It seems the family reunion has arrived ahead of schedule. Lyra froze. The quantum dynasty found me. Is that good or bad? Jace asked, urging her forward through the cramped passage. Complicated, she replied, her harmonious voice tight with tension. My kind rarely leave our sanctuary among the stars. If they've come in person, the situation is more dire than I realized. They emerged onto a narrow maintenance walkway suspended over one of the outpost's vast hydroponics bays. The artificial jungle below provided both oxygen and illicit botanicals to the station's inhabitants. There. Jace pointed to a small auxiliary docking port on the far side. If we can reach that, we might be able to. The wall beside them exploded inward, the force of the blast throwing them against the railing. Through the smoke stepped 2 Syndicate hunters, weapons raised. Quantum Keeper Lyra Thandarin, one announced through his reflective visor, by authority of Director Kane, you will surrender yourself for extraction. And if I decline? Lyra asked, the equations beneath her skin pulsing with increasing speed. The hunter's weapon hummed as it charged. Then we take what we need from your corpse. The equations are encoded in your cellular structure either way. Jace had his pulse pistol halfway drawn when a blinding flash of light erupted between them and the hunters. Where empty air had been a moment before, 3 figures now stood, tall, azure-skinned beings with the same flowing mathematical patterns as Lyra, but more extensive, covering every visible inch of their bodies. The lead figure, a woman whose patterns glowed with blinding intensity, raised her hand. The hunter's weapons crumbled to dust in their grasp, the particles swirling in complex formations before dissipating. The quantum dynasty does not surrender its children, she stated, her voice a symphony of harmonic tones that made Jace's teeth vibrate. Mother, Lyra whispered. The older quantum keeper turned, her pupilless eyes, cosmic whirlpools of energy, fixing on her daughter. Lyra. The equations predict 97.3% probability of your imminent death had we arrived 42 seconds later. The same percentage Miko calculated for how terrifying your daughter's abilities are, Jace muttered. Nice coincidence. Coincidence is mathematical ignorance, human, Lyra's mother replied without looking at him. Come, daughter. We must return you to the sanctuary. Wait, Lyra stepped back, closer to Jace. Mother, the Syndicate knows about the convergence equations. They've been hunting our kind systematically. Which is why we came for you, one of the other keepers interjected. The dynasty must remain intact and isolated. Jace found his voice. With respect, that strategy hasn't worked out great so far. The Syndicate found her once, they'll find your sanctuary eventually. The lead keeper turned her cosmic gaze to Jace, studying him with unsettling intensity. You are Jace Riker. Former intelligence operative for the Galactic Alliance. Disavowed after the Rigel incident. Now a smuggler and occasional mercenary. She paused. Your purchase of my daughter was unexpected. Jace blinked in surprise. How did you? I'm a living quantum computer, she replied simply. Your public records are elementary equations. A distant explosion rocked the station, followed by blaring alarms. The Syndicate's main force has arrived, Miko's voice came through Jace's earpiece. Approximately 300 armed personnel boarding through multiple access points. Captain, I suggest a hasty retreat. As if to emphasize the AI's point, the lighting throughout the hydroponics bay shifted to emergency red, and evacuation warnings echoed through the station. We need to leave, now, Jace insisted. All of us. Together. Lyra's mother frowned, the equations beneath her skin accelerating. The human is correct. Tactical withdrawal is optimal. She gestured, and the air around them began to shimmer. We will transport to our vessel. Wait, Lyra interrupted. The Syndicate isn't just after me. They're planning something bigger. Their director spoke of reshaping reality and correcting the flaws in creation. We can't just retreat to our sanctuary and hide. Jace saw his opening. I have a plan, he announced with more confidence than he felt. But it requires all of you. And my ship. The keepers exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them that Jace suspected involved mathematical probabilities he couldn't begin to comprehend. Speak quickly, human, Lyra's mother commanded. 24 hours later, the Nova Drifter, now enhanced with quantum technology beyond anything Jace had ever seen, dropped out of hyperspace directly above the Obsidian Syndicate secret headquarters. The massive space station, concealed within the radiation belt of a neutron star, bristled with defensive weaponry and sensor arrays. This is suicide, Miko commented cheerfully, her holographic form now interfaced with the ship's enhanced systems. Exciting suicide, but suicide nonetheless. In the cargo hold, now transformed into a makeshift quantum laboratory, Lyra and 5 other keepers worked in perfect synchronization. The mathematical patterns flowing beneath their azure skin had merged into a single unified equation that filled the air with ghostly symbols. Jace stood at the threshold, watching with awe. Are they ready? Nearly, Lyra's mother replied from beside him. She had insisted on accompanying him to the bridge for the final phase of their plan. What you've proposed has never been attempted. Using the convergence equations to rewrite the quantum signature of the Syndicate's leadership, Jace confirmed. Making them physically incapable of violence or coercion. Elegant and non-lethal. The Elder Keeper studied him. Your military record suggested a more permanent approach to problem-solving. Jace's jaw tightened. That was before Rigel. Before I saw what happens when you try to solve every problem with a weapon. The ship's proximity alert blared as they were detected. Syndicate defense platforms locked onto their position, energy weapons charging. Incoming transmission, Miko announced. On the view screen appeared a man with aristocratic features and cold, calculating eyes. Director Kane, Jace acknowledged. Captain Riker, the syndicate leader replied with a thin smile. I admit, I didn't expect such a direct approach. Bringing the Quantum Keepers directly to me saves us considerable effort. Service with a smile, Jace replied, buying time as the Keepers completed their work below. Though I'm curious, what exactly do you plan to do with the convergence equations? Rule the galaxy? Become a god? Kane laughed softly. How pedestrian. The galaxy is inefficient, chaotic. The convergence equations allow for optimization. Imagine a reality where conflict, disease, poverty, all the messiness of sentient existence, simply doesn't compute. A perfect equation. At the cost of free will, Lyra's mother interjected. A small price for order, Kane countered. But enough conversation. Your shields, while impressively enhanced, won't withstand our combined firepower for long. Surrender the Keepers, and you may yet survive this encounter. Jace checked the subtle signal on his wrist display. The Keepers were ready. Counteroffer, he said, meeting Kane's gaze. You might want to check your reality settings. I think they're about to change. Before Kane could respond, Lyra and the other Keepers released their unified equation, a blinding surge of mathematical energy that enveloped the Nova Drifter and expanded outward like a shockwave. As it struck the Syndicate station, the defensive fire faltered and died. On the view screen, Director Kane's expression shifted from confidence to confusion to horror as the quantum restructuring rewrote his fundamental nature at the subatomic level. What have you done? He whispered, hands trembling. Given you perspective, Jace replied. The capacity for empathy, compassion, and cooperation is now mathematically dominant in your neural pathways. The same applies to your entire leadership structure. Consider it an upgrade. The transmission cut off as Miko reported, quantum restructuring complete and stable. Syndicate weapons powering down across all platforms. Captain, I believe the colloquial term is checkmate. In the cargo hold, the Quantum Keepers had collapsed from the effort, their mathematical patterns flowing sluggishly beneath their azure skin. Only Lyra remained standing, though barely. It worked, she told Jace as he rushed to her side. We've changed them without destroying them. A new equation. Not bad for a man who was just scratching his nose a week ago, he quipped, supporting her weight as her knees buckled. Lyra's mother approached, her cosmic eyes evaluating them both. The dynasty owes you a debt, Jace Riker. One we can begin to repay by dissolving your financial obligation from the auction. Appreciated, Jace nodded. Though I was getting used to being 20 million credits in debt. There is another matter, the Elder Keeper continued, her harmonic voice uncharacteristically hesitant. My daughter's equations have become entangled with yours. Jace frowned. Meaning? She means, Lyra explained softly, that during our work, our quantum signatures have developed a resonance pattern. Separating them would be difficult. Translation, Miko chimed in helpfully, you two are mathematically in love. How adorably improbable. That's not exactly, Lyra began. Is that accurate? Jace interrupted, looking directly at her. After a moment's hesitation, Lyra nodded. In quantum terms, yes. Our patterns have harmonized in ways that suggest compatibility beyond the physical. Jace considered this, then shrugged with a growing smile. Well, I did pay 20 million credits for you. Seems like I should get my money's worth. By staying together, she asked, a hopeful note in her harmonic voice. By exploring this resonance pattern, he replied. Besides, Miko would miss you. Desperately, the AI confirmed. Who else would discuss quantum mathematics with me while the captain sleeps? As the Nova Drifter pulled away from the transformed Syndicate station, Jace found himself at a crossroads he'd never anticipated, part of a quantum family, paired with a living mathematical miracle, and for once on the right side of history. So, he asked Lyra as they watched the stars from the viewport, what's the probability this works out between us? She smiled, the galaxies in her eyes swirling with new possibilities. That, Captain Riker, is an equation we'll solve together.